Well, to discuss all of that, I'm joined now by Behnam Ben Taleblu, the Iran Programme Senior Director at the US-based think tank, the Foundation for the Defence of Democracies. Welcome to the programme. I mean, what we just said there in that introduction is a kind of example of how there is already a standoff between both sides on this.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be with you. A standoff between both sides, but certainly important to pay attention to a third side, and that's not an organization, but it's an international organization known as the International Atomic Energy Agency. Rafael Grossi's visit to Tehran may end up being just as important, if not more important, than the meeting between Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Iranian Foreign Minister Araghchi in Rome, because whether you are for dismantling the Iranian nuclear program or just limiting it through arms control or even using military strikes against it, one has to have a baseline for verification. So the IAEA mission, both on the front end as well as on the back end of whatever end state one desires with respect to the Iranian nuclear program, is critical.
It's critical. So what do you think comes next in these Oman brokered talks in Italy this weekend?
Well, certainly it'll be who budges first. Certainly the U.S. is looking to significantly beef up its position, and public commentary by Steve Witkoff himself moving from low-enriched uranium being something that could be a possibility to trying to get a full cessation of operations, as you mentioned. The Iranians talking about their military activities basically being off of the table. That's probably a code word for ballistic missiles, and Iran is home to the largest ballistic missile arsenal in the Middle East, many of which can carry nuclear payloads, some of which have even been used in military operations. So this will be, I think, more of a staring contest than a trust-building contest. But nevertheless, expect Tehran, in my view, to play for time and the U.S. to really suss out what is it that Iran wants versus what is it that Iran can really settle for.
I mean, in the end, do you think for Iran there's no negotiation on the ask that we understand the US is saying, which is to give up enrichment? And so will that be a real sticking point, perhaps?
No doubt the Iranians have gone to the mat about this for quite a long time, even back to April 2006 when they started doing domestic enrichment at low rates on their own soil. And since then, they have not stopped enrichment at any of those rates for a single day. So naturally, they have a bit of history to point to on resisting this. But there are times when the Islamic Republic has done a 180, and that's when it senses there is no way out but through. I think if the U.S. really plays its strong hand here, it can force concessions onto the Iranians. It'll take time, it'll be risky, no doubt it'll be challenging, but there is precedent to get the Iranians to back down, and that's why I think this is going to be a staring contest. The Iranians are going to be trying to measure the mettle of not just Steve Witkoff, but the entire Trump administration.
And of course, all of this as Iran's going through an economic crisis at the moment, and I've certainly spoken to other analysts who say that that's why they've kind of come back to the table, as it were, because they do, in some ways, need a deal.
No doubt the Islamic Republic needs a deal for financial reasons, but there's one major difference I would stress for you and the audience between the 2013-2015 engagement and now. Back in 2013-2015, the Iranians were inspired by the prospect of sanctions relief and really wanted to sell themselves as a responsible nuclear stakeholder. I would say the primary thing driving Iranian engagement today is not the prospect of sanctions relief, even though they still desperately need it. It is certainly to be able to blunt the growing likelihood of either Israeli or Israeli and American military action. So diplomatic engagement by the Iranians with the Trump administration, be it direct or indirect, is happening under a fundamentally different strategic context in 2025 than it did with the Obama administration in 2015.
OK, Behnam Ben Taleblu, I'm sure we'll hear from you over the weekend. Thank you very much for your analysis ahead of those talks between Iran and the US.